We're back to the main motion. Any discussion on the main motion? The chair recognizes Eldon Goodhue.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like Eldon Goodhue, 37 Windsor Lane, and I'd like to make an amendment to Article 3. And if I could read it to you first and then read it, or do you want me to read it and bring it to you second?
No, read it first and then.
I'm making a motion to amend Article 3. I recommend that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $20,430,092. That's for schools, highways, other town expenses, and fix the annual salary and compensation of all elected officers from July 1st, 2019, and determine the manner of expending the same as stated in the attachment A to the warrant, and to meet the said appropriation, in addition to the amount transferred for such purpose under Article 2nd, to raise and assess the amount of $20,379,866. And further, does the town vote to raise and assess the appropriate the additional sum of $593,068 for the elementary schools as stated in the column entitled Contingency Appropriation in attachment A, provided, however, that such additional appropriation shall be expressly contingent upon approval of the voters at the election of the so-called Proposition 2.5 override pursuant to the general laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C, small g. May I speak to that, or do you like to see this first, Mr. Moderator?
All right, so what I hear you saying is you've reduced the general operating budget by approximately $500,000.
The exact numbers are stated in my motion. You can do the math if you'd like, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, Mr. Goodhue, but we need to know the exact amount that is being reduced by and where that reduction is coming from.
May I speak to the motion without answering your question?
No, because we're going to have the discussion on it, and the discussion needs to be with a full understanding of what you're asking the general hall to do.
Well, I'm asking the general hall, just what you've asked us to do as taxpayers, to pay to, first of all, appropriate $20,430,092, and then assess the $20,397,866.
All I'm asking for, Eldon, is you got to give us some direction. You want to reduce the budget.
I do.
And that's what we're here to do, is to pass the budget. So give us a general sense of where you want the reduction to come, that's all.
Here's what I'd like to speak to, if you don't mind, Mr. Moderator, I'll speak directly to you. The proposed amendment I'm making to Article 3 recommends a 3% increase. Notice I said increase in what we spent last year with the appropriation was last year, the fiscal year 2019. So the amount that I've told you about on 2 occasions, both to appropriate and assess, is what we're looking for. Now the reason, I think you should give the reason for this. When the chairman now spoke to what happened early on in the budget process, she was very clear, I don't have to repeat it, but she talked about a 0 increase in other when they started this process. No new programs they recommended. They encouraged new initiatives, which the police department is taking part of, that might save the town some money in the long run. And then the Masco and elementary schools who set up a budget guideline of 3%. That's where I got this, because I read the FinCom's comments on what they were looking for. They started out looking for a 3% increase in this budget, and that's what I'm proposing. Now, the 3% increase that we're talking about from last year's spending gave us a great police department, a great fire department, gave us fantastic schools. So I'm not saying level funded where it was last year, I'm saying let's give it another 3%. Now, the reason I'm doing that,
I appreciate your rationale, But in order for us to consider the motion, we need to know whether you want to take that money from the police, the fire, the schools. We need to know where the money to reduce the budget in order for us to make a decision on whether that is something we want to do.
I would not be the one to do that, it would be the finance committee, and they've had 9 months to do that, Mr. Moderator.
All right. What they have done is they have done exactly what you have asked them to do. However, they have come up with a budget that may be more than what 3% is, but they have done it with the rationale of that's the best interest of the community. And again, we can't consider the motion unless we know where the money is going to come from.
Well, I think what you just said was telling, Mr. Moderator, because what you said is you said that the finance committee has done all this work. Let's look at the process. The process started 9 months ago. The FinCom sent some guidelines. The people that wanted to spend some money, quite not indicting anyone, came to the FinCom and said,
Okay.
we need, are you going to interrupt now?
No, I'm not. I'm talking to our legal.
Okay, I'm sorry. So what I'd like to continue is talk about the process. So the process goes for 9 months. The FinCom listens to people who want to spend more money. We understand that. We've sat in on many of those meetings. Tonight is the only chance that the taxpayer, the homeowner, the real estate person gets to come and speak to that amount. We are not invited to speak at the FinCom meetings, and we never have been, and there's never been a representative of the taxpayers to come. So this is our only chance. 9 months versus, I think you said I have 2 minutes, we can be very generous right now. So when you weigh the 9 months of people going to the FinCom and talking to the FinCom, and then you weigh the 2 to 5 minutes that you give us to speak today, that's not really fair. We don't have the ability to do the math here today.
So, Mr. Meader, you are making certain comments regarding the process that the Finance Committee has taken. I would ask that the chairman of the Finance Committee respond to that process that you have opened.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, the budgets originate with the various departments. We issue a guideline, but the departments are the ones who say, to provide the services, this is what it costs us. All those meetings are public with the departments and their supervising boards. That's the place to go when you have concerns. Second, when I said 3% for other, that's the departmental other budgets. There are certain other pieces of the overall town operating budget, debt, insurance, and pensions, that basically they are what they are. And so those numbers, they're fixed, essentially. And so if you want to reduce by 3% overall, we're obligated to make pension payments, we're obligated to pay our debt service, and it behooves us to provide the health insurance that we negotiated with our employees. So the 472,000 some odd that you would like to reduce, you have to say where it comes from, because we just can't peanut butter 3% across all the components of the budget.
Mr. Moderator, may I continue?
If you can make a motion that we can act upon.
Well, I've made it, and I think the strange thing about this is that FinCom, and this is not an indictment, I know each one of you work extremely hard. You've come to us and you said, we'd like you to spend this amount of money. And what I'm saying, I don't really want to spend that. I'd like to spend 3% more than that.
I think we are clear on what you want to do, okay?
That's
We're just trying to ask you, how do you want to do it?
I would have the FinCom do it.
Let me ask the legal counsel for her learned opinion.
Mr. Moderator, through you, in order for our town meeting to vote to reduce the budget, we would need a motion that told us what lines we're going to be reducing. It's one thing if we say an X% cut across the board, it's another thing if we say we're gonna take it out of this line item or that line item. If we just reduce the budget, then we've approved, if we just reduce the budget, but we approve Article A, if we reduce the amount to be raised and assessed, but we approve Article A, attachment A, we don't have enough money to fund all of those things, which means we have to come back to a special town meeting and either reduce the appropriation or, reduce the different lines, or we have to have an override, or you have to have a very careful reduction or limitation on what people spend over the next few months and have a special town meeting in the fall, because you will not be able to get your tax rate set by DOR, because you'll have more money, more spending allowed than you will have money to pay for. So in order for town meeting to act on this motion, in my opinion, there needs to be line items specified where the money is going to be reduced.
Okay, again, we're asking you for some guidance as to where you want your $500,000 or the difference between what you're proposing and what is in the article to be.
I have great respect for Ms. Goldberg. We work together on other matters, so thank you for your answer. However, what I am doing is I am making a motion that has been seconded, and there is a way to do it. Ms. Goldberg just outlined how it is done. I don't want to be the one to say it.
I'm not sure I heard it seconded yet.
Did you want to ask for a second?
Not yet, until I hear the motion.
You've heard the motion. I can't do any more than that.
There's no motion that has been made that we can vote on.
And I would take exception to that, and I believe the Attorney General would not agree with you.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Yes, the gentleman in the back, please state your name.
I'm Dan Raybold, 139 Washington Street. Just a question on the override, which is now part of this article. We do have to vote on that at the ballot. If it fails, what situation are we in that we've approved an article which doesn't include money that we've been turned down at the ballot? Do we need to approve a contingent budget without that money tonight? Because according to...
The override has to pass the ballot. It has to pass the town meeting and the ballot.
Correct. And what my question is, if it fails at the ballot, and we've approved it tonight, we've approved a budget where we don't have funds.
That's not accurate, but I will have our counsel explain it.
Mr. Moderator, through you, the appropriation related to the override amount is voted in a contingent manner tonight. If the override fails, the contingency fails, and there's no additional appropriation.
Okay. So it is contingent in the article?
I'm sorry, I should be more specific. The Board of Selectmen would have the right before September 15th to have another election, but it would not come to fruition. That additional appropriation wouldn't exist until it's approved in both places, town meeting and the ballot.
So in the article, that $593,000 is a contingent amount?
Yes.
Okay.
Floor recognizes
Tony Pizzanato at North Street. I actually have two questions on Article 3. One I think is kind of easier question, and the other one is about the schools. So the easier one is in the general government. Town hall, it shows it's going up by 83,000, right? Which from 188,000 to 271, and the 188 is pretty much flat, 19 over 18. And I heard that we were talking about we might have staff for IT, but I see all that in other. So could someone just help us to understand what's that $83,000?
I'll have Karen Dow, I was her liaison.
I may actually need Catherine's help. Some of it is the contracted services for IT support across the town and IT support primarily in town hall and the the facilities management contracted services, so that's 50,000 of the increase. Phone service is increased and electricity is increased. Some of that is because the costs are up, and some of that is because Mike was kind enough to hand it to me. There's some amount of increase in electricity, in phone service, and cleaning. Some of it is larger building, and some of it is just because the costs go up, the electric rates are up. So I think that probably covers pretty much the 88,000.
Second question?
It's still me?
Yes.
Okay. So then, if I may just ask for that piece, just to stay on the town hall for a second. So in essence, this increase we expect this year, but we think next year would probably be flatter? Is it because now we have the new town hall, we have an increase from size from one year to the next, but now we'll have 2 years where it's pretty much the same town hall, so we would expect that to be relatively flat?
I'll defer to Mr. Hartman, who seems to,
We were getting a handle on what the operating costs of the town hall were this year. We undershot it last year, thinking that we'd use less electricity and stuff, and now I believe that we've got an idea what the baseline is and the budgets are adjusted. So the short answer is I don't. I think this is the last big jump you'll see in those line items. Absent changes in, electric rates, hailstorm or something.
okay?
Okay, then I guess I'll move to my second question, which is a little tougher. Okay?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said my second question is a little tougher. It goes to the school budgets. And I guess I'm just trying to understand, because I went to the moderators meeting and I asked, how can I educate myself about this increase? And I did watch the selectmen's meeting, which I think was 3/11. And in there was...
Tell me, just ask your question. What's your question?
Okay. I'm trying to understand. I hear that we're increasing this because we want to be kind of level set with 18. And so I went back and I looked at the warrants that I had. I actually have warrants back to fiscal year 11. But if we go 17 versus 18, there was a 3% increase. 18 versus 19, there was a 3.6% increase. And then before the override request, it's like a 2.6% increase. So we had increases year over year. So I'm a little confused when we say we're trying to increase this amount to be level set against 18. I don't understand that because I saw that we had increases since 18.
Okay, so you need to phrase a question that we can answer. I understand you don't understand why there was an increase in the budget?
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand. Of the 593, we're saying it's a level set.
Okay.
Then how much of that is level
We have an
set?
answer for you.
I'm going to have Katrina help give detail. There were numerous school committee meetings that are all filmed and on live TV. And in those meetings, I try to really do a really good job of summarizing what those changes are. I don't have that with me tonight, but they are losing significant state funding that happened last year. Over the last, we've had the school roof project go on. We've really held elementary schools to guidelines the last 2 years. As such, they've also been taking their revolving accounts and using those funds, and those funds have been brought down to zero. So if you take the Title I funding, which is a large amount, we're not getting 125 off the top of my head, and then it's a similar type of number that last year was contributed from the kindergarten education fund. That got the kindergarten tuition fund, that got depleted further. So now you're losing that. That's $250,000 right there. On top of that, Katrina's here. She can give you the rest of the answers. But there's basically there's a position that needs to get refilled that was cut in order to make the guideline. You're looking at the normal every year following the steps and wages of the teacher negotiation contracts. that contract value goes up. So the fixed value goes up a large percentage of it, and then you take the loss in funding, and then you take the add of the prior position that was cut last fiscal year, you add that together, it's a very, very large number to have level services.
Does that answer your question?
Somewhat. I guess I could just ask, when we're doing the warrant and we're showing all the expenses, I think it would be really helpful for us to see gross expenses and then this Title I type funding, right? Because we can't really count on that from year to year. Even if the state says, we'll give it to you, you can't always count on it. It would be very helpful for us if we could see like the gross expenses and then a line below that says like, credits or one-time charges, so that then from year to year we could kind of see that, okay, it's just going up a certain amount, or it's going up for a head count, or whatever.
Okay. Thank you. Would you like to respond, Katrina?
Yeah, I just want to say that that information that you just discussed is all provided in our budget and on our website. I also just want to clarify something. You are correct that we want to get back to level services with FY18, but I want to draw a distinction that level services doesn't necessarily mean the same dollar amount, because the costs have been going up year over year. And so what we're looking to do is restore 2 items that were cut in FY19 to be within the Finance Committee guideline. One was that English Language Arts and Social Studies curriculum specialist. The second was professional development for our teachers. Those are both restorative actions to get back in line with FY 2018. The rest of the money, which is roughly $460,000 or $80,000, I have to check my reference, is literally just to fund level services with this past year. Because of those losses in revenue that John referenced, and also because of the unfunded state mandates that I mentioned at the beginning. That's just the situation that the schools are in, and it's not just our schools. So, I hope that answers your questions. Okay.
I think we're trying to answer your questions, Tony.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Before we go any further, I do want to circle back to Mr. Goodhue and offer the opportunity to restate your motion so that we can vote on it. Do you want to do that?
Yes, thank you, and I want to thank your counsel who didn't tell me what to do, but she helped me a little bit on where I was falling short. And what I would like to do is renew my motion that I made, and I would say apply it, a percentage across the board that amount would bring. And I would look for a second, Mr. Moderator.
You want to state your motion again?
I'll read it.
No, state your motion that you just made.
Okay. What I'm saying is the amount, I said I'd like a 3% increase. I think what you were looking for is what is the decrease. So the percentage from what you recommend and what I'm changing the Article 3 to is a percentage. And I'd like to apply that across the board to all budgets and all parts of Article 3.
Okay, what we're going to do in order to honor your motion is we're going to find the difference. We're going to see what that percentage is, and we're going to subtract that percentage from all line items on the budget.
That would be my motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, there is a second to the motion. And now, discussion. If you could work out the numbers and bring that to the town clerk, I would appreciate it. All right, the motion has been made to reduce the budget so that it is only a 3% increase over last year's budget. And with that, it's been made and seconded, and I open it up for discussion. Is there anybody that would like to discuss the motion?
Joe Geller, 52 Prospect Street. It's my understanding that with the commencement on the budget, the town is not at liberty to change the...
We're not talking about Mascanoma. This is the elementary school budget. It's not Mascanoma budget. This is the Article 3, general operating budget for the elementary school in town. Nothing to do with...
Can we get some help from the finance committee?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mascanoma is Article 5th, that's a totally separate article. Article 3rd is, well, you can find it in attachment A. It's the elementary schools, library, police, fire, general town hall operation departments, parks and cemetery, highway, police, fire, it's all of those.
Okay, I recognize the lady on...
Jill Duran, Birch Lane, I just want to clarify what's happening with the proposed motion. Are we going to be going through line item by line item what the reduction is going to be before we...
We are trying to work out a general amount of what that number would be. And we'll give you that number before we vote, but I was just opening it up to discussion to see if we could find some sense of what we would like to do.
I would propose that we, unless we're going to have specific numbers for each line item, that we vote to either allow this motion or not.
Okay, what you're doing is a separate motion, so we'll take care of this one and come back to you. Yes, in the middle.
Sarah Guido, 31 South Main Street. How can we reduce a line item like debt service, which we're legally obligated to pay, or other line items for our union employee salary? Would this mean a reduction in headcount in those departments?
No, that was what the council alluded to before, that you can certain ones, and I think she will repeat her statement.
Sorry, the motion said each line item in the budget, which, okay, so,
Yeah,
that was
Mr. Moderator, through you. So this proposed amendment would reduce every single line item in the budget by a percentage. If we just take the broad percentages, Mr. Goodhue had asked for a 3% increase over last year's budget. I think we heard the Finance Committee say this is approximately 8% increase over last year's budget, so we're talking about 5% less, so, okay, which included the overlay. But the thing to understand is that if the town has an obligation to pay debt service, and we reduce the budget down to whatever the percentage is, let's just say it's half, okay, let's say 4%. We reduce 4% off the entire budget, then what's gonna happen is, we've also reduced 4% off of our debt service line, which we legally have to pay. So what would happen is that we'd have to come back at another meeting, and we would have to reduce appropriations in some lines to make sure that we have enough money in the debt service line to pay that. Now, in terms of staff, if anyone is in a union, then they are entitled to get paid what they're entitled to get paid. And so if we can't pay them, we have to lay them off. And there are other things that we're obligated to pay, health insurance costs, any contracts that we have where we need to actually pay the contract for those services, we're obligated to pay it, and not paying the full amount means we breach the contract and have to deal with that. What else was there? There was debt service, pensions, we have to pay that. So we would wind up coming back here to a special town meeting if we were under the amount that we needed to pay all of these things. Yeah, right, and insurance, any of our obligations that we have, if we don't have the money for it, but we have a contract for those services, then we either have to pay or we're in default. If we're in default, we wind up paying other types of fees. So we would wind up most likely coming back for another special town meeting to realign the budget so that we don't default on any of our other obligations.
All right, thank you very much. Chair recognizes the person in the middle, Dan Pilata.
Yeah, Dan Pilata, 68 Hill Street, thank you. I guess it's a point of order. Is a citizen not required to come to town meeting with a specifically stated motion? And is it the job of the moderator and town government to provide technical assistance to a citizen to frame their motion on the evening of town meeting? Signatures all been done in advance.
The citizen is perfectly within his right at this point, so we'll entertain his motion. It's been seconded, and we will continue to discuss it. We will add 1 point from our legal counsel.
Thank you. Mr. Moderator, I forgot to make a couple points. Number one, the proposed changes have legal impacts. That's what I was just talking about. There's also obviously non-legal impacts, but that are of a legal nature. So for example, the town's bond rating is a certain way, as you just heard, is a AAA rating because the town has a certain amount of reserves, et cetera. So any changes that we make to that could affect those things. Similarly, the library, we need to spend a certain amount for the library each year to be eligible for matching grant funds from the state. And then finally, the bond, as I said, the bond rating companies are looking very carefully at all of these things. Ultimately, the legal part of this is one part, and then there's the implementation part, and that's really how it would affect departments, throughout the town. So.
All right, thank you. Moderator recognizes. Go ahead.
Laura Kelleher, 71 Washington Street. To summarize what I'm understanding is if we were to pass Mr. Goodhue's motion, we would essentially be starting over the entire FinCom process that's happened this year to get us to the proposed budget that they put here today, because they've already line item looked at everything, and so we have to line item go back and redo the entire thing. Is that correct?
I think you do that. That's exactly right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Seeing none, I will move the question, and we will vote now on Mr. Goodhue's amendment to the general operating budget, Article 3. All those in favor of Mr. Goodhue's amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? I would judge by my hearing that the motion fails. There will be no clapping, please. I am